I've lived in Cypress, Texas for over 10 years now, and in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to decide whether Cypress, Texas is a good place for you and your family to move to. My name is Isaac.rose with eXp Realty, your Houston real estate agent, and I've lived in Cypress going on for 11 years as of February 2024. Me and my family moved here from Cedar Falls, Iowa, and now proudly call Cypress, Texas our home. I have lived in this area for the last 11 years since coming into the Houston area, and it's been a joy to live here. It's a really beautiful, active, young community filled with entrepreneurs and great like-minded people, and I'm sure this is what a lot of you are looking for. So if you find value with this video, be sure to leave me a like, subscribe if you want to see more real estate related content and what it's like to live in not only Cypress, but the Houston area in general. And also leave me a comment, some feedback, some things that maybe I didn't cover in this video. But I'm sure by the end of this video, you're going to be super educated on the Cypress area, and you're going to be able to pull the trigger on whether this area is for you or not for you. So all that being said, let's get into the pros and cons and some additional facts about the Cypress area. So pro number one is location. The location of Cypress is really ideal, especially if you're okay with commuting downtown to work. I know lots of people where they prefer to just stay away from the craziness that's associated with big cities, and they like to keep themselves and their family in the nice suburban areas such as Cypress. So the nice thing about Cypress is you're only about 40 to 50 minutes from downtown. Of course, with traffic and accidents, this can always increase your commute time to roughly about an hour-ish is what I kind of see. I know a lot of people who I've worked with are really okay with the drive just to be in an area such as Cypress and avoid the craziness. But if you are not familiar with the Houston area, I always recommend for you to come down, and if you're going to be commuting, to do a practice commute or two just to kind of get a feel of what you're going to have to experience. So you definitely do not want to move into a home and then after a week or so be like, oh, I probably should have moved closer. So the location of Cypress though is really great. You're only about 2.5 hours from Austin, about 2.5, 3 hours from San Antonio, and about 4.5 hours from Dallas. If you want to go south down to Richmond or Sugar Land area, you're only about 40-ish minutes away with either the Grand Parkway on 99 or down the Sam Houston Tollway. And if you need to go up towards Dallas, or if you have loved ones who are going to Huntsville, you just go on to 99, go up north and take 45. You're pretty much an hour away from Huntsville, and then again about 4 hours away from Dallas. So if you have family in Dallas, Austin, or San Antonio, it's pretty easy to just hop on the highway, and then you're always within about 2 to 4 hours from being close to those loved ones. Also, what's nice about the Houston area in general is we have a lot of musicians who are from here and a lot of people who travel. So you'll typically see a lot of your big bands, artists. Houston is a pretty common hotspot for them to hit, and if they don't hit Houston, they'll typically hit San Antonio or the Dallas area. So me personally, I love listening to Blink-182, the Chainsmokers, and other big artists, and they typically always roll through here. So it's really nice just to be able to take a 40-minute drive into downtown and go see them and come back for the night. And then if they're not going to be in here, they're going to be possibly in Austin, San Antonio, or Dallas. So if it's an artist I definitely like to listen to, definitely worth it to just go drive the 2 hours versus some other places where you have to drive even further. Also, with the Astros and the Houston Rockets, you're also, again, about a 40-minute drive to downtown to go watch sporting events. So there's a lot of pros of living in Cypress. Again, you get to stay out of the city limits and in a really nice area. Cypress is a really active community. The median age here is 35 years old, and the median household income is $120,000. Roughly 9% of all individuals here in Cypress are actually self-employed. About 80% of people who live in Cypress are homeowners, and roughly around 20% rent here. Of the 80% of people who own homes, roughly 23-ish% actually own their home outright and do not have a mortgage on it. There's a lot of really cool and unique people actually living here. I go to a Lifetime gym here in Cypress, and I ran into professional athletes, content creators. I'm not going to name names for privacy's sake, but people who run large toy review channels, world-class athletes for boxing, baseball, football, and even gaming org creators, such as on like Phaser Optic, if you've heard of them or your kids have heard of them. So there's a lot of really cool people and just entrepreneurs in general who live in the Cypress area. And it's a very outdoorsy community. You'll find in most of the neighborhoods and master plan communities, there are plenty of trails. Town Lake caters to having water. It's one of the only master plan communities where you can actually have a boat on the water in the Cypress area. Although if you're talking about doing big boats, then I'd say Conroe is the better bet for that. Master plan communities such as Bridgeland has mountain biking trails and off-road trails and just miles of hiking trails throughout it. You'll see in other older communities such as Fairfield, which was built mostly in the 1980s, even they have a ton of trails and just really quiet and peaceful when walking throughout the evening. So it's really cool to see how active this community is and the level of fitness and lifestyle that lives here. It just caters to a younger, really entrepreneur mindset, if you ask me. So there's a lot of good people here. Houston and Southern hospitality in general, if you're not from the South, is a really cool experience. So when we first moved down here, so many people were friendly, from restaurant workers to just random people we ran into. One of our first experiences was we went to a Panera, and I guess their large size drink was smaller than what we had in Iowa. And so my dad had made a joke about it, and he said, well, everything's bigger in Texas, so we gotta take care of that. So they just found the biggest cup they could and loaded it up. So just really cool things like that that we got to experience when moving here to Houston was really cool. So let's talk about housing for a second. So supply kind of has a hard time keeping up with demand. I always like to tell my clients, if you have a longer window of time frame to look for a house, I definitely would start your search earlier than later, especially if you have specific needs. So housing, especially new construction and resale, the good stuff sells, especially when priced right, really quick. Houses don't last super long. We have like a month of inventory of 2.5 months, which is not a long time. We typically see that Cypress has lower months of inventory than other parts of Houston, and that just kind of coincides with the demand and the people who want to live here. So Cypress is definitely one of the most desired places to live, especially in the Houston area. And with that being said, new construction just kind of sells like that. Even at the $800,000+ price point, you still see a lot of these homes sell fairly quickly. For perspective, for your months of inventory, we see that resale homes have about 1.9 months of inventory. So if no homes were listed for 1.9 months, essentially 2 months, then in 2 months, all houses would be sold theoretically. We see new construction has an average time of about 3.1 months of inventory right now. Now, in my opinion, this is slightly skewed. There are either builders who don't list their houses until they're completely ready, or there's builders who list their houses from 3 to 5 months away from being finished. So you have these days on market that are racking up on a home that's not completely finished. And even though it's not technically under contract, I find a lot of people don't jump on a house until they can see it completely done. They want to see what the finishes are and how everything is coming about and just a finished product. So I typically don't see homes that are under construction unless they have a model home or an existing floor plan of it that's similar, that most people won't pull the trigger on inventory homes that are being built. There is a lot of new construction opportunity, and the beauty of that is what lends it to their financing arm. So with a lot of these big builders, we have so much demand that typically builders will build what is called a model home. If you're not familiar with what that is, they pretty much build a house and it's just for their sales counselors to be in, and they take all their appointments there. And it's a great way for people like you and I to walk in, see what a finished product is from these builders and what kind of homes they build. So not only do you have the choice of building from the dirt, you get to select your lot, you get to pay the lot premium. Say you want a lot that has a water view, a lot that's on a corner, things of that nature. You're able to go and do that and then build from the ground up. Or if you want to save a bit more money, you can purchase an inventory home. An inventory home is a pre-existing home. The builder has already selected the lot, the floor plan, and most of the time the finishes. Every now and then, if it's not further enough along, you can always go ahead and change the finishes, but typically it's best when the home is about 1 to 2 months out from being finished. The builder wants to get rid of it. They want it to be sold. You'll typically get it a bit cheaper than if you chose and built it yourself. Of course, you're not going to get it fully customized like you might want it to, but there's a lot of great savings that come with that. The other awesome thing about going with a builder is you typically can have a lot more closing costs be paid or have better financing incentives. So certain people like Coventry Homes and TriPoint Homes, these builders are notorious for offering cheaper financing rates for qualified buyers versus whatever the standard interest rate is right now. So if you are on the fence between choosing an inventory home or a pre-owned home, those are some things to consider. We have seen in the last 12 months, 3,500 homes sold in the Cypress area. The average price sold was $478,000. The average asking price right now for homes available is $577,000, and there are roughly 700 homes for sale. The median price of a home in Cypress is roughly around $380,000 to $400,000. So for price point perspective, you can find housing in the low 300,000s all the way up to a couple $1,000,000. Whoever you're wanting to build from the dirt a multi-million-dollar house, or simply you're wanting to be a first-time homeowner, there are plenty of options for everyone here in the Cypress, Texas. The only thing that you need to be aware of, and this is definitely going to be con number one, is the property tax and insurance. This catches a lot of people off guard. In our newer communities, you will typically see a tax rate of 3.3 to 3.5%. To offset this, if this is your primary residence, you can apply for a homestead exemption, and this will take 20% or up to $70,000 off the appraised value of your home to pay in taxes. If you're a senior citizen, this goes up to $100,000 or 20% of the appraised property value. So for example, if you have a $300,000 home and your property tax rate is 3%, you are going to pay $9,000 a year. Now, if this is your primary residence and you file for homestead, it's either going to take off 20% or $70,000. Now, 20% of $300,000 is $60,000. So in this application, the greater or $70,000 would be applied. So your $300,000 of appraised value that you're paying taxes on is now $230,000. So you are going to pay $230,000 times 3%. So roughly it's gonna be $6,900 a year in taxes. Another pro or con is our weather here. It can be extremely hot and humid during the summers and then pretty cold during our early months of the year. Funnily enough, September, October, November, December are typically not even super cold. September is still considered summertime, and then most days in December, I'm off to church in shorts and a t-shirt. Every now and then we get like a cold front and you gotta wear jeans and whatnot. But other than that, it's actually pretty warm year-round here. Right now, ironically, as I say this, it is actually 28 degrees out right now. Some of the coldest temperatures it's been in a very long time. We just came off an extremely hot summer where we only had 3 days below 3 digits. So those lows for the month of August were like 97 degrees, and with the high being like 107. So it gets very hot and it's very humid here. So if you haven't been in the Houston area in general, I highly suggest you're able to come visit, especially during the summer, and just to make sure you're okay with the heat. In terms of schools, Cypress has a really excellent school district. I will have links down below to niche.com and some of these other websites that do school reviews. It's kind of funny, you'll actually read through a lot of reviews, and it's mostly students actually commenting their experiences with being at that particular school and not even the parents. So I highly suggest you take some time to go read and kind of see from a student perspective what they all went through. But Cy-Fair definitely have a really excellent school districts, one of the highest ratings, and has some of the best grades from a lot of these neighborhood websites. Our crime rate is also a lot better than national average and definitely the average of the city. Here in Cypress, we typically have a non-violent crime rate of 13.1 for every 1,000 residents, and for violent crime, we typically have 1.59. The national average for violent crime is 4 for every 1,000 people, where we as we are 1.59, and for property crime, we are 13.1, whereas the national median is 20. So statistically, we are 33% safer than the national average, which is a really good thing to know. The police presence is actually very high here in Cypress. I'm just going to say that from personal experience, aside from my own little speeding tickets I've had and whatnot. But the police force does do a really good job, and they are really excellent here. So it might catch you off guard, especially if you look through my home walkthroughs on my channel, is the yards. The yards are a lot smaller, especially in your master plan communities. You really have to look for corner lots and certain communities that tend to have a little bit bigger yards. So if you're looking for a yard space, definitely is a con. There are certain areas within Houston and even Cypress that you just need to know where to look if you're looking for a yard. So that's why partnering with someone like me to represent you and to help you find the home that you're looking for is really important, as I kind of know some spots of what you as someone looking to buy or build is looking for. Some quick things to note: our cost of living here in not just Cypress, but the Houston area in general is a lot cheaper than you'll find in other places. Gasoline is also a lot cheaper here, just being in Texas with oil and whatnot. You'll find the cost of gasoline is surprisingly much cheaper than other states. Food and whatnot, you'll typically spend roughly $10 to $15 on a quick meal. But if you are looking for a more upscale restaurant, there's plenty of those, not just in Cypress, but in the Houston area in general. There's a lot of cool places to eat. And speaking of food, Houston is definitely a place for foodies. So you'll find a lot of Instagrams, TikToks accounts dedicated to just showing off these really cool, unique restaurants here in the Houston area. One other con though is definitely our toll road and traffic. So definitely for those commuters who are commuting from Cypress to go down to whether that's the energy corridor over by Katy or going to downtown, 99 and 290 typically going to be very busy when people are going to and leaving work. So that's definitely something to consider. Also, 99 tollway, it is a toll road, so you do have to pay. Typically, it'll cost me about $6 round trip to go down south to Richmond and then all the way back to Cypress. So definitely it's kind of an inconvenience. It's definitely annoying, especially to those who live here. Everyone kind of complains about it until it'll hopefully be done one day. No idea when, but one day. So definitely you do want to factor in that into your commute. While it's typically a smaller expense than some of the other ones, such as property tax and our insurance, you definitely do need to consider it. Speaking of insurance, you do need to check with an insurance professional what it's going to cost for housing. So for insurance, you need to compare what the homes you're going to be looking at in the area versus a new home. So for example, if the roof of a pre-existing owned home is over 15 years, your insurance is going to skyrocket. So definitely do consider this, as it can affect your monthly payment big time. So for me personally, I love living in Cypress. I plan to make this my permanent stay until the time is called for me to go elsewhere. Cypress is a really beautiful, clean, lovely area. There's a lot of things to do, a lot of quick access to go and do things. So there's never really a dull day if you're looking for things to do. So I really love the Cypress area. I think the pros outweighs the cons. For someone with my lifestyle, just being active, fit, younger, Cypress I think is a really great area to live. So if you have any more questions, or you're thinking of moving here, or there's something I didn't answer in this video, do reach out to me. My number and contact information is down below in the description and on the screen right now. So feel free to reach out to me so I can help answer any questions that you might have about moving to Cypress or the Houston area in general. So with all that being said, if I missed something, leave me a comment down below. I'd love to see what you have to say. Whether you're a resident who lives here or looking to move here, my goal is to help make your move as seamless and effortless as possible. So without all that being said, thank you for watching.